What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hour Recap, a show focused on covering the news, matches, and results of the Overwatch League. And this is episode 55, and we're coming with the complete crew today. I'm really excited. I am Andres, aka I Play Games, and let me introduce you to the the ones and the onlys, the Shizzlers, Melissa and Bob. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad that you're back, Mel. I know that you've been really busy with work, so you've missed a couple episodes, but glad you're here. You excited?
I am. It's been kind of a drought, though. Been missing my Overwatch League games.
Yes,
Yeah,
this
it's
is
been
what we
rough.
call the dark times of Blizzard. Usually happens in October, right before BlizzCon, where they don't say anything about anything. There's no news, there's no updates. Everyone is just focused on delivering the big bang, the
Well,
the big reveal.
and I've found that I just don't really care about the extra stuff. I guess I'm an Overwatch League elitist. Like, I don't care about the California Cup that just happened where Valiant destroyed Shock. I just don't really care. Like, I care about the Overwatch League, and it's interesting, but I guess you just only have time for one or the other, but I just find that I mean, what do you guys think of these off-season, contenders, trials, everything else? Like, what do you think of those?
Well, I think that right now their main focus is the World Cup, and that's maybe why Overwatch League has maybe taken a second stage. Plus, it's a moment that they're all using to reorganize, right? New teams are entering the arena. You need to give them time to catch up, to build their facilities, their systems, get everything going. Um, so I think it's just that time, like the show must end and everyone must regroup and come together to be able to put the show again. You know what I mean?
I mean, they've had stuff. It's just not the Overwatch League. Like the World Cup's good, but the stuff that they've had, there was a small time tournament just recently, like an
The
old
Beat
school one.
Invitational.
Yeah, and I think Michael's team won, but I mean, I just don't really care. I don't know
Just not as
why that
exciting
is. I think it's the
because I think it's
production
not.
value. It's is really what I think it is.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's more so the fact that it's not long term, right? So it's the one weekend or one tournament where, as the Overwatch League is such a long term commitment, right? It's like, oh, they lost this week, but we've got next week. And these are just such short-term little tidbits that if you don't catch it, it's not like you can catch up and
Yeah,
root 'em on
it's
for
hard to
next
get
week.
invested.
Right.
Absolutely. But having that said, we have some news from Nate Nancer coming in with a lot of new topics in the upcoming season. So we're not completely in the dark over here. At least we got the answer. Speaking up a little bit. Before we get into that, though, I do want to thank our Patreon supporters, specifically our recap producer, Shasir. Thank you so much for supporting us at the top level of the show. And also everyone else who's supporting us on the Patreon. It's a handful of you, but it's actually making a difference. It's already cutting the costs down for us quite a little bit. So thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate that. Every little bit helps. All right, let's get into this interview. I'm going to pass it to you guys to guide us through what Nate has said.
Mhm.
Mel
Silence.
or Bob?
Crickets.
Any of you?
See, have you ever been through like CPR training where they say you have to call somebody specifically out or that everybody
you
will
know,
just
I
you know,
did
think it?
I should know.
I did point at you.
I
I
wasn't
should know
looking.
that as a host. You know that? You know what? That is my bad. That is a failure on me as a host. I should definitely just point at one of you.
Oh man. Well,
I was gonna let Mel take it because she found the article.
yeah, sure. So Overwatch League Commissioner Nate Nanzer sat down with Sun Online, and they went over a bunch of different things. First, they talked about the Overwatch World Cup and what his thoughts on that were, and if he thinks that that's as big as the Overwatch League or whatnot. And he basically said the Overwatch World Cup is a great place for people to get noticed, and it's a great place to get fans introduced into the Overwatch League that maybe weren't before because it's country based, right? So people have a little bit more allegiances if they're kind of into esports. They
I
watch
think that
that.
this one is the true allegiances of anything because everyone who's playing for their team is from that country, right? So there's like everything's on the line there.
Right. For sure. So I think that was interesting. He went over kind of how he thinks the Overwatch World Cup is still going to be kind of next to Overwatch League, that Overwatch League is going to be the big Overwatch esports platform, but the World Cup's a good way to introduce new things and get people coming together. So I don't know. What are your
Yes.
guys' thoughts on just the World Cup in general versus the Overwatch League?
Well, she asked if it was going to be similar to the FIFA World Cup, the real, soccer World Cup that comes every 4 years. And he said, no, it's going to be second to that. But everybody on Earth
I like
doesn't
the modesty.
play. Yeah, like everything, like everybody plays soccer, so that's why it's such a big stage. Like if there were bunches of Overwatch leagues, then yeah, the World Cup would probably become the biggest thing because you'd see people from all kinds of different leagues, but it's not going to be compared to the Overwatch League.
This is how every kid in the world gets a computer. Blizzard realizes that the only way to become bigger than the World Cup is if everyone can play their game. So they set out on a mission to give everyone a computer in the world, raising the standard of living of everyone in order
Forget
to
hunger
make their
as long as they have a computer.
Hey, teach them how to fish, right?
Yep, yep.
Teach them how to play Overwatch, and then you can make millions.
Well,
See,
I
there you
think
go.
Overwatch will become free to play at some point. Then a
More
lot
than
more people will
likely,
play it.
if the league becomes really big, I could see that happening. But for now, I think that the game still makes their main income from probably like in-game sales and selling the game itself.
They make it from everybody's alt accounts. Come on, let's be honest.
They probably make it from the poor console people that always have to pay $60 instead of us who pay 20 and But on console you can make as many accounts as you want. So we really only buy the game again to have another account.
True. So they
I
also asked him about. Oh, go ahead.
no. I was just gonna say that I really enjoyed the World Cup, being it like a special event every year where everyone go plays with their country and there's a lot of pride in the line, and we get to see a lot of countries participate. I actually would like it to be a little bit larger, right? Like instead of just a couple of days that get highlighted. Let's see all the countries. I want to see all the games, even if they do really
Yeah,
terribly. I want to see them.
be like watching our games, right?
Exactly.
No, but he also went into. They asked him what his thoughts were on the meta in season 2, and he makes a cute little comment about people who game like to complain, and it's true. And he says he's can't think of anybody that's ever said that the meta is perfect, and they're always going to complain about that. But he thinks it's interesting. He thinks it's pretty diverse, and it's one thing that he really loves about esports is that they're constantly changing and evolving. That it's not just one solid thing that you're going to play forever, right? Like football, yeah, little things change, but the name of the game is pretty much the same every year.
Yeah, and the thing about meta is that depending on who you ask is either great or it's the worst thing that has ever happened into the earth, right?
Depends on what
All
characters you like to
depends
play, if
on
they're in
what's
or
your
not.
main. Yep.
Yeah.
If your main's in meta, you're happy camper.
And like there's always the heroes that are a little problematic that some people perceive or have a certain perception or a negative perception, a negative connotation. And it's the same. Some people like him, some people don't. Some people love the old Mercy. Some people hate the new Mercy. Some people, you can't really satisfy everyone. People who play lots of tanks and who maybe want to make or play a beefier comp are probably happy right now that that's an option. People who only play Tracer are probably not as happy right now because their reign of terror and has ended, right?
Yeah, although I did see AKM playing on stream. He was playing Tracer today.
I
And
mean, a good Tracer can still do some heavy damage.
but
But if you're in Overwatch League, things change a little bit.
I did like how he pointed out how the meta has evolved since the early days with double Lucio, double Winston, and double Reaper, and comps like that, and he s- points out how
That
it's
almost
really moved
feels
on.
so silly nowadays. Like looking back on like the double, 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 it sounds so silly, but that was a thing for a while.
Oh yeah, it's a big thing. Yeah, and
It's
then
hard to it's hard to remember it like that now. You're like, "What?"
Yeah, it's like that was almost like the beta, right? It was like no,
It's like
that was the
arcade mode.
game. That was the game when it came out.
oh man, it's good stuff.
Oh gosh. So then he goes in and talks about season 1 and versus season 2, and they asked him about the increased rates for franchise teams in season 2, and he really dodged that one really well. Didn't answer that one at all. Says that they don't give that information. um, but he did talk about their hopes to look at expanding in Asia and Europe mainly. He said they're pretty happy with North America right now. The one team that they did say that they would like to get a team in North America was Chicago, which is unfortunate. I was hoping you'd say Colorado, but it's fine, whatever. But they talked about, some of the European focus and getting more teams there. That's going to be their biggest focus. 5 in Asia isn't too horrible. And then they've got 2 in Europe, and they're trying to get more representation there, especially for when they go to their home markets. So they did make the schedule a little bit nicer this year for some of the Europeans so that they're not always having to watch VODs with doing it. They think they're probably going to do it on Saturday and Sunday because that's the best time. But he also said that's a scheduling nightmare to program a time from LA that's worldwide. It's pretty
Yeah,
difficult.
Which
TST time
was
doesn't have the friendliest
yeah,
worldwide time.
Conversion.
I would say, yeah, conversion. Yeah, it's pretty awkward
yeah.
for a lot of people.
It was a really good point that I just hadn't thought of. Like it is a lot easier to schedule at GMT than any place else.
Like even Eastern, some of the games ended up being quite late um for like the regular or the average viewer, I would say.
Yeah. It was it was a struggle, and I think Europe really let them know how much of a struggle it was for them because it was at, like, I think, like, 3 AM for them or something, like, it was nuts.
Oh yeah, they were not
Yeah.
happy.
The problem is that you're hiring a full production crew and you have all these players that are coming into play. Like you have to make it comfortable for them too. So maybe Anaheim, or not Anaheim, but Burbank. Where is the arena? Burbank, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Is probably not the best place to be recording from. Maybe they can choose a bit more central location.
I mean, yeah, they're kinda out of luck right now, though, they already chose that, and that's where everybody is, so
yeah,
It's
I mean
true.
that was really the only place they could have done it. I mean, you know how many people worked at both the arena and at Blizzard, and like
Yeah, it's
talking to
huge.
the different community leads and all of that. Like they work half the week at Blizzard, then half the week there at the arena. So it would have been it's already kind of a pain for them to drive, as much as they had to. But you think about
Yeah,
the earlier games on like Saturdays and Sundays, you make it too early, and then your whole crew and talent and production might have spent a little too much time out the night before and might not perform as well given that earlier time. I know it's something that people won't talk about, but I mean, production crews and talent, like those types of people, like to go. You know, it's like
Have a few adult apple juices.
yeah, if you've ever been in the service industry, like what do servers do after they get off work? They go have a couple drinks, and so I don't know how good it'll be too early either.
But I think they said that Saturday's games last year were a good time for Europe. I think they were at like prime time for Europe because they were early on here,
Yeah, they're much earlier. Yeah, those were nice for Eastern time too. I was like, oh, I can actually watch these at a regular time.
right? For sure. So he did talk about, they asked him about moving to their home cities. And, initially we were looking at 2018, then maybe 2019, then 2020. And he talked about the new schedule allowing teams to have more of a presence in their home communities this year. Maybe not playing in their home communities, but more time to go do home events. And then looking at, ideally, he said in 2020, maybe not fully in all of the home cities, but definitely having some sort of representation and playing some games in the different cities and whatnot.
I did like how he mentioned in season two there's stuff planned for the teams to be more involved in their home markets. So might be some of those breaks, might be a trip to the home market to do signings of merchandise, different stuff like that. I could really see that happen because the teams that did do that had really big turnouts. Dallas had like 1,500 people show up.
Yeah, I think it's like on their bye weeks, they're going to have time to go back home and whatnot.
Yeah, and I definitely think that it's worth the effort to come back and make the fans, right, represent the city, especially for the teams that are not from the city itself. It's very important for them to like be there and be like, hey guys, we are actually here in the city. We want to represent you guys. We want to get to meet you. We want to absorb the culture, like start making those teams really gel with their cities. It's, if that's what you want for a long term plan, you want these rivalries and you want people to feel represented, then you have to do that, right? You can't just say, like, oh, this is your city, this is your city, this is your city, but they all play in LA and you guys never get to see them. That, I don't know if that would work very well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm just excited to see what they've come up with to get more involved in season two. So hopefully there's more to come on that, maybe even at BlizzCon.
Maybe. We'll see. So they talked about season two a little bit and kind of talked about what the challenges are going to be for season two. And he was saying kind of like season one went so much better than they had ever anticipated. So it was exciting and they think they did a pretty good job. So they've set their expectations even higher for season two. And just that they're constantly working on making a sustainable business, not just a short term kind of esport, that they want it for the long run. And they want to build what they call the Forever League.
I think that's fantastic, because they have the potential to do it, right? They can keep growing the game. The game can keep evolving. Eventually, the game might have to do some leaps, to catch up with the times. You can't be playing the same thing forever and ever, but they seem like they're looking into the future. And even from like the inception and development of the game, I know that they created their own engine that they can modify and update and probably easily keep up with new technologies as time goes on. And same with the league, right? As long as you keep adding teams, you keep maintaining the level, at least a base level of viewership. You can keep on the league going for a very, very long time.
And he
For
did
sure.
mention that they want a total of 28 teams. I hadn't seen him mention that anyplace else. I don't know if I'd missed it, but
I've heard that.
he
I
did
just,
say 28 teams.
yeah, but he kind of left it open ended too. He said our kind of goal is 28 teams, but, who knows, right?
Right. Once you get to 28 teams, you gotta gauge it there. Like, is this working? Is this very well? Is it the sweet number that we're looking for? Can we
right?
add more in the future? How is it looking in other places? Can we start this exact same league that we have kind of centralized here in the US and just make it there? You know, like soccer, that's kind of what happened with soccer. You have all these like different leagues, like you have the European League, you have the Latin American League, you have one here. You have all these the leagues spread out in all these other places, and then they converge in the World Cup for this huge event. But everyone's playing kind of like in their locality, and they're huge leagues in and out of itself, right? Like the Champions League in Europe, it's huge in soccer. It's almost comparable to like it's like the second biggest tournament in soccer after the World Cup. But then you have like Copa America in Colombia, which is like the equivalent, and that is equally as much pride than there. Like the team who wins that is like they're gods in Latin America for like that period of time, right? So I
It's
could see that
interesting.
happening with Overwatch League. Like if they can keep expanding, but then like centralize it like that.
It'll be interesting to see how they figure it out. But
I mean, yeah, it could just turn into three leagues. Over. I mean, which is what they wanted originally: a Europe League, a U.S. League, and a Asia League. That's what they
I think it. I
originally
think.
stated a long time ago.
I think they're trying to make a world league though. So I think they might try to have a Europe division, a Asian division, and a North American division that maybe they don't play each other during the year very much, but then they come together for the playoffs or something.
Yeah, something like the
Yeah,
NFL conference system,
Right.
where
I could see
you
that.
only play like in the NFL. Like for instance, I'm a Chiefs and a Cowboys fan. One's AFC, one's NFC. It's awesome because they only play each other once every 4 years. So I don't have to see that game of my two teams facing off very often at all.
And as long as the demand for esports and the competitive gaming of this sort, which I just see it rising and rising more and more, right? Continues to grow like this, the league could get there eventually. These are like very long term plans, and obviously, we don't know much about what they're thinking about in house. We're all speculating from the outside, um, but I don't know, like of how things are going lately with esports. I could see it becoming a thing, kind of like sports at one point were just little games, and now they're this huge enterprises where thousands of people are employed around a simple game.
Yep.
Right. It's pretty cool. So the last couple things he talked about the criticisms from people of the elitist attitude that the Overwatch League franchise might have and the grassroots population, so kind of discouraging that. And he just made points that there is a lot that goes into moving up in the league, from the open division to contenders to Overwatch League, and that he thinks that they do have a really good system, and just that there there's a lot of criticism and he doesn't think that it's valid. What are your guys' thoughts? I know there's
So
mixed feelings on this.
what exactly is the criticism? Sorry.
It's on the fact that the Overwatch League franchise is ignoring the need for that grassroots population or discouraging it, that they want it all to go through them, right? There's not a lot of tournaments out there that are able to conduct tournaments on Overwatch League just randomly. It's all about if you want to get in the Overwatch League, you probably have to go through open division and contenders to move up.
Yeah, they're talking about just the grassroots tournaments and stuff like that, and
Basically what was happening before Overwatch League,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So it's a interesting topic to talk about because one, you do want your game to expand naturally and organically and allow people to form their own competition, compete in your game as they want to compete, right? Because at the end of the day, you want as many people as possible to be interested in it. But at the same time, I think that when you just let a scene develop by itself, it one takes a really long time, and two, there's a lot of possibility for abuse, and this has this happens so
Yeah,
much
two's the
in other
biggest one.
games that just like develop like that freely, right? Where there's no central organization that is trying to keep a certain order and a certain standard, which is what they're trying to do. And to be fair, I do think that Blizzard have taken it in like the other extreme, right? And so far, no company has done that. So in a
Right.
way, interesting to be looking at them to see what happens when a company is this strict and enforces this much and forces the majority of the player base to go through their channels to rise to the top. But at the same time, when have we seen a game develop this competitive league of this magnitude so fast right out of the gates that is looking quite good, has a solid audience, and seems super organized. All the players are getting compensated appropriately. We have not heard one complaint from an Overwatch League player that they're not getting treated right or that they're not getting paid. Like none of that. Like if any complaints have come out is of them not fitting in with the teams or not performing at the level that they need to. But aside from that, like it seems like it's a good deal for everyone involved and for the viewer. And this is kind of like the effect of like that control that they've been having. So I don't know. I don't know if I see it as a bad thing. Like sure enough for people who just want to compete by themselves and create their own organic competitions and not have to go through those channels. Yeah, that probably sucks and it probably does discourage a lot of organic growth in that sense and it's a loss that they are probably calculating. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that I think Dancer's doing awesome. I think for everything he's done, and I think we need to start a Church of Dancer, just like the Church of Kaplan, because he really has done a great job. And what they're doing for with the division, that's a way in. I mean,
Definitely.
it is definitely a way in that not every game has, and I don't know. It's just not they can't do everything. I feel like they'll keep trying to do more and more, but this first year they had to
I
concentrate
don't
on
think
just the Overwatch League.
right, but I don't think it's criticism that they shouldn't be doing more. I think it's criticism that they're shutting others out from doing anything, right? And I think Nancer's point of view is that we want to make sure that everybody in the Overwatch League and the Overwatch competitive community is sharing that same best practice work values and that it doesn't turn into this haves and have nots where some people have all the money and some people don't, and how do you compete with somebody who can offer everybody $1 million when you can only offer them 10, and I
Yeah.
think that that just makes for a more competitive atmosphere. And he made some comment about you're only as the league is only as healthy as its sickest team, which led to the follow-up question of, well, what about Shanghai?
They all got fired, so I'm sure that Blizzard maybe talked to them like, "Hey, this cannot
That's
happen
not really
next
gonna cut
season."
it. But he did point out, he said, "We're not really gonna get into the competitive aspects of each team." He's like, "We're here to support them," but he pointed out that they did an amazing job of gathering fans and creating fans. If
That is true.
nothing else, I mean, they really brought to the Overwatch League a fan base, even though they didn't win. So
Such a big fan base that now three other Chinese teams have sparked. They're like, "Oh my gosh, we gotta jump on that bandwagon right now."
because we can at least win one game, so we might as well.
Yeah, yeah. If they have this many fans by losing all games, we got this, guys. Let's go.
Seriously though.
No, just kidding,
Uh,
Shanghai. We love you guys.
Oh yeah. But yeah, that was really it. It was some good information, and it was a neat interview, kind of in the calm before the storm here.
Calm before the storm.
Not to be confused
Alrighty.
with Khan before the storm. That's
Yeah, which we
different
will be a
than.
part of coming up in BlizzCon 2018. Don't miss it, guys. All right, let's jump into the next section over here. making a championship roster. Bob, you want to lead this one?
I guess I can. Uh, so this is a guy uh, writing now. He's made it up to like 4,300. What the heck? Just what? Sorry, technical difficulties. All right.
Oh,
Um,
my face disappeared. I'm
I
back.
uh, I don't remember the specifics of the article though. He just talks about the new teams prioritizing signing main tanks. It's something they learned from last year. So it's been a big thing for the new teams coming in to try and fill the tank gap. Uh, the analysis is more driven on data now than it was going into season one. Uh, for some reason, Western main supports were highly coveted, which I don't know if that was for shot calling or what, but many teams broke the bank to secure starters. I didn't read this one, though.
It was just oh, hold on. It was just talking about that with more players rumored to be getting those higher salaries ahead of season 2, that a lot of the top tier talent was given a lot of money this season to make sure that they'd secure that and sign those players, right? Whereas last year, I think there was a little bit more flexibility in how much you offered people, right?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. Yeah. This is an interesting article. Basically, it's an article that's talking about what are the top trends that teams are having for season two and what they're trying to do to, stand up above the rest. And I think that a lot of these trends are coming from a standard that was set on the season one of the league by the top tier teams. One thing that really strikes me here is that data driven analysis was a lot more common. Um, you know who really relies on like data analysis is Wizard Hyung, the ex-coach for New York Excelsior. He's one of those guys that would collect a bunch of data from the games and wasn't just like sitting there watching a bunch of VODs and replaying VODs and just watching the stuff. He was like going on hard data and looking at very specific points in time and trying to make decisions based on that. And it's a whole another level that these coaches are taking um, for their teams. The Atlanta team, for
Right.
example, not only just hired a coach and an assistant coach, but they hired an analyst that I'm very, very sure his job is to gather live data from their games. And so they can look at hard numbers and make decisions based on that, not just an intuition. So I think that the coaching really is getting a little bit next level here. They're getting really into the intricacies, very hard numbers, and they're not speculating anymore. They want to know everything that is happening. Also, I like some of the other points that get made over here. New teams prioritizing main tanks early on. It seems that the main tank has centralized as the role that you build around, right? You need that central pillar, and the main tank is your central pillar. You need a very sturdy central pillar to build upon if you
Yeah.
want to have a great team.
It's not flashy like DPS, but season one let us know how necessary it was to have a good one. You can't just plug Taimu or Ryu Jaehong in to play monkey and expect to have a good day.
Absolutely not. A great tank is concerned about the objective, is concerned about his teammates, is concerned about creating space so that the DPS can shine, that support can move in, protected. A main tank leads the charge and sets the pace of the game. And when you have a great main tank, you can feel it. You can feel that you can breathe as a DPS player. When I'm playing with really good main tanks, I feel like I have space. I can move in. The DPS of the other team is concerned about my tanks and is not paying as much attention to me. Like sometimes on the widow duels, I can see the other widow can't really focus me that much because maybe my Winston or my diva is putting a lot of pressure on her. If I'm playing McCree, I can feel diva taking a lot of pressure off the Farah, so I can win that duel, for example. So they create a big difference in the teams.
Definitely.
For sure.
And they one of the other points that they brought up is something that a lot of people have been talking about is buyout and transfer fees hurting many players' chances of making it to the Overwatch League. So that's the thing where they have to pay a certain amount of money to the smaller org that had them in contenders or whatever they pull them from. You know, they have to pay to bring that player on. So people, this is just perceived by him though, I think, but he thinks people have been passed over that might not have been passed over had they not had to pay a fee. I
Well, it
thought
kind of
that was interesting.
links up with the one before that where he was talking about just paying more for those star players, right? So you can only pay so much money a season. So if you kind of break the bank buying those star players, an extra, however much money it is to buy out of a contract for a contenders player that you want but you don't need, and you could get somebody else that is less proven but potentially has the same value or even better, but you don't have to pay that extra money, why not? But they knew that going in to contenders, signing those contracts and whatnot, so
It honestly does suck for the players that are right on the line that maybe are desired by some teams, but really comes down to budget. But at that point, if the decision's coming down to like the budget at that point, maybe you gotta differentiate yourself just a little bit more, rise above the rest just a little bit more for them to be able to be like, you know, is worth the extra dollars to invest
right.
in this
You
person.
probably weren't gonna be a starter in L anyways, so you might as well stay on your contenders team and get better and move in
Yeah,
that way, you
I
know?
mean, the thing about the league is that they're very competitive spots. Everybody wants them, and the top talent is going to be wanting them, and there are a very limited amount of them. So there's going to be a lot of competition fighting for those, and the people selecting them are going to be, picky in that sense. And it does come down to budget sometimes and financial incentives because these teams do have a finite amount of money. It's not they can just buy players left and right.
I thought it was funny that he points out that finding strong diva players is hard. I guess it was really hard for anybody to find a strong diva player, and that's just funny to me because she's, you know, one of the easier characters for people to pick up quickly. But I guess the skill ceiling is crazy high.
Not
So
everybody has a cool mat.
And it's not only the mechanical skill ceiling on the hero, but it's the player intuition, how they gel with their teammates, how they are able to communicate, their marketability too. Like, are they likable to other people, right? Not just like as a diva itself, but outside of the game, like having a Jake, for example, a player that is not only good, but also looks great for the team. You can send him in interviews. Like, you want the whole package, right?
definitely, definitely. And then he just kind of finished it off with basically, everybody tried to get Koreans first, which everybody knows. They're all the rage in the Overwatch League Season 2.
Oh, Koreans. For a long time, that country focused a lot on esports. They made it their thing, their cultural, and now it's the number one export to the world next to pop culture. Um, just great gamers.
And this article was on the benchmob.com, and the author's name is Dave Kokani? Kokani? Something like that.
Something like that. Dave Ciccone.
I don't know.
Speaking of, guys, did you guys see that Runaway got picked up? We don't know by who.
Yeah, I saw that. But isn't it leaked or whatever, or supposedly Vancouver. I believe it's Vancouver,
I don't know.
but it's not
Sure.
official yet, I don't think.
Alrighty, that'll do it for the two articles that we have in the interview. We are kind of run. No, we still have a little bit of time. We can go into like all the team trades and changes that have been happening. Let's dive a little bit into the changes that the teams have been going through. We know that some of the players have been signed, some players have been traded, some players have been acquired. Let's start with the dynasty. Dynasty roster has been changing a lot. They're bringing in a flex tank, Michelle. Michelle coming in, playing for flex. We got a main tank coming in, Marv one. We also have a support.
I think it's maybe Marvel, just the one supposed to be
Oh,
an L.
Marvel. Marvel. Yes. Thank you, Bob. I'm not hip enough to recognize
Marv
that.
one.
It's meat
Marvel.
speak, yo.
We got support Jeshe and coach why not? So the full roster that they needed, they basically already had what the main supporter with Rio Hong playing Diana. They had a great DPS player, Fleta, who stayed. They needed a main tank, they need a flex, and a support and a coach. More important than everything, a coach is coming in. What do we think here, guys?
I
I
think,
don't know much about these players
yeah.
for me to tell affect them, but I think they're filling the roles that they definitely needed to fill them.
Yeah, seems like it was very deliberate decisions, and this rounds up the team. I would say we might see some more acquisitions from them, but I think that with these, it looks like they rounded their new roster.
Yeah. And on the next thing, Soon's being traded from the Valiant, and supposedly he's going to Seoul. Although
Really,
he was supposedly going to Paris before, so I don't know. But supposedly he's going to Seoul.
I
How did
could
I
see
hear
him
the
going to
rumors then?
Paris. Soon is a player that if you ever watch his stream, he is very proud to be French. And I wouldn't doubt it that if he got an offer, even if it was for slightly less money, he might take it just because it's Paris. So I don't know. But this is interesting. Valiant letting Soon go. It feels like Soon had done such a wonderful job within the team, but we've known Valiant to not fear dropping some of their good players, and it worked out for them last season. They had some good changes in there, so I don't know.
Well,
Interesting to see what they're gonna do.
and they kicked the crap out of San Francisco Shock in the California Cup without Soon.
And that too. There you go. Maybe they don't need him after all.
They looked pretty good.
It's a little weird.
Yeah, but I don't know. They've done weird decisions in the past too. Fusion, trimming the fat, letting go of Hotba. I think that why am I blanking out on his name? Master Diva. Um
Master Diva.
from Fusion.
Oh, Poco.
Poco?
Poco. Yes. I think Poco has said, I got this, guys, and then letting Hotba go.
Yeah, what's that say for Saba? Because Hapa was like Saba's right hand man. Like they put
I think
him in
just
with
during that
Saba.
time, though, like I think it was just because they had practiced together because they were kind of a duo, and then Poco and oh gosh, whoever else was the other duo, right? So they just didn't.
Fraggy.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
My
So
gosh.
they just weren't mixing them, right? So I think they have time to practice now, and I think they'll be fine.
It's interesting how they had like these two different pairs of tanks and of tanks that came into, and now they've kind of crisscrossed. There's like, this is the best combination, and this is what we're gonna keep. Because Fraggy is also kind of out of it now. He hasn't been a main tank for them for a while, at least not for the finals. And I, they might keep him in the roster for the upcoming season, he might be a great kind of like scrim partner, great in-house Reinhardt consultant, and just like you know, if the main tank is not there, Fraggy can. You always have Fraggy. You can always unleash the Fraggy. You get that backup, so they might keep him for that. But
Could be
yeah,
good
for
trade
now,
bait too.
yeah, that too. Fraggy's a very experienced Reinhardt, so even keeping him just for that experience and having him there, I think is valuable.
Oh, for sure. I'm just saying if they get a good offer, they might.
Yeah, well, that too. You want to take the next one, Bob? This one's your boys right here.
Yeah, Fuel signed closer. Closer was on the Spitfire. Um, he's a main support. I'm guessing that he's going to compete with my boy Harry Hook for the job. But I don't know how his Lucio is, so it might be something where they switch off. I'm not really sure, but he's a really good mercy if we need mercy.
There you go. Again, feel not afraid to bring in the Koreans. We'll see how the communication goes in this one.
It's interesting to see which teams are trying to centralize that and which teams are trying to mix it.
Some teams
We'll
have
see.
just gone like full Korean, right? Like they're like, we won't worry about communication because every player in our roster is Korean, so we're good. Other teams have been like, well, we'll just bring like one or two, and we'll see how that works out. And it's been a little iffy here and there. Like they've done a great job performing their roles, but I think that the gelling with the team has still been a little bit of a challenge for most of those teams. And
I
I'm
guess
talking
it's
about
better than just
specifically
having one,
Gladiators
though.
and Fuel. Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, just having one, I feel like is going to make it a lot worse than having a couple. Because at least they can talk to each other.
right.
You feel like
Yeah.
you're
Well,
on
but
such an island if you're the only one.
Well, and even I mean, just think of day to day. I mean, just think of, you're at work. You probably have someone or a few people you talk to at work. Imagine if you went to work every day and you couldn't talk to anybody. So, yeah, one's not very good.
they probably have at least one person. They probably have a translator at least they can talk to.
Oh, no. If you're talking about fuel, effects back
Yeah, I was gonna say they have effects, so
and
they can be buddies.
main tank.
I don't know.
Oh, no. I'm just saying their main tank is also Korean.
Oh.
There you go. Koreans slowly taking over Dallas as well. For the Spitfire, we got a couple sign-ins. Guard coming in as a DPS, previously from Element Mystique. We also have Krillin coming in from Dragon Ball. What? No, from Flex Support coming in from the Open Division. Guys, story
Yeah.
of success over here. This guy climbed his way up the Open Division and made it to the Overwatch League, the big leagues.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird because he's never competed in even a tournament. Well, outside of
Well,
just getting
the
into
open.
the open division. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. He was signed by the champions by Spitfire. Spitfire was like, "We want that guy. He has the drive. He has what it takes. Bring him on."
Get rid of closer. Let's get this guy.
For closer, I love the name too. Krillin, Krillin.
It's just a whole
Let's
lot
move
of
on.
It's all Krillin ever did in Dragon Ball Z is just make that noise.
Is that what is that the noise he made?
It's
Oh
always.
gosh.
It would
Can
just
we
pan
just
to
not
him
make
and
that
just
noise
he'd
ever
make
again?
that noise. Then it'd go to something else, then pan to him again, he'd make that noise again. It was
Sounds
All right.
wonderful.
Resident Grunter.
All right, all right. Let's move to Uprising. We got Blaze or Blaze. I don't know. It has an accent on the E, so I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce this one. Is coming in from Gladiators Legion. So this one is from the academy team for Gladiators.
Hmm.
We also have Spackle joining in as an analyst. Here we got it, guys. More data coming in. We need those people that are analyzing the games at a deeper level. Uprising joining the crew there with that. And we have Mr. Bleeple. Mr. Bleeple, am I pronouncing it right?
Mr. I don't know.
Mr. Bleeple,
I was
guys.
trying to
Come
figure
on.
out who this was. I don't think I've ever heard of him, but I
I
guess they're on
think
the
he was their
Uprising
former
staff.
analyst.
Oh, it might have been their former analyst. Yeah, he is taking a break to continue his education. So good luck to you, Mr. Bleeple, wherever you end up with. I wish you the best.
With a name like that, I mean, how can it go wrong?
God, I would love to work with that guy. Hey, Mr. Bleeple, how you doing
What
today?
would you do if your doctor's name was Mr. Bleeple?
Oh, I would love it. I'd be there every month. Just teasing. All right, last one, Mayhem. You want to take this one, Mel?
Yeah, so Mayhem has added 3 new players. Yay for Mayhem. Might get more than 6 people this year. They got Chris from Meta Athena for main support. They got BQB. I want to say barbecue, but it's BQB. And he's from X6. He's a DPS. And then they got Swan for a main tank, and he's from NRG.
Yep.
So
And
we'll see.
then the last bit of unconfirmed leaks is that DeFran will be signing and announcing any day to your
Again,
team. To your
Ca-
team.
again,
Can you
again.
tell that Bob's been
To
listening to Matt
Atlanta.
Cole?
I
I've
was
heard the
saying it a
rumor.
long time ago, man. I
I've
even
heard the
drafted
rumors
him in
too.
the mock draft for with the high noon guys, and they made fun of me. And I said,
But
"Dude, he's gonna
you,
play."
I don't know if you remember this, but you know how many times you said the same thing about the Fran and Mayhem?
I said it once as a joke early on before season 1, and
No,
then
no, no, no. You said it like three
no,
times,
I
like
pointed out that
maybe.
I had said it when he was making fun of the McDonald's uniforms, but no.
Okay, boys, 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 boys.
Well, the point is, the Fran rumors. I don't know. We're gonna stay away from those for now. There are some rumors floating out there, but there's been rumors of him joining the league for so long that at this point, I don't know if we want to even go there.
Agreed.
Telling you,
Alrighty, I think that'll do it for team changes. Is there anything else aside from leaks and unconfirmed leaks?
hey man, Michael just continues to be right. So until he's not right, I'm gonna keep listening, and
Yeah, he's
he's got a
definitely
great record
inside
so far.
He's definitely inside the contender circle. And he definitely knows a lot of the players who are trying out for the game. So he probably gets the word through the grapevine. And the Fran has expressed that he wants to be in the league. So maybe they're giving him a tryout. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, he's denied it. I mean, there's been all kinds of stuff going on, but I really think that he's probably going to sign to your team here shortly. So you get to have DeFran.
The Fran. I haven't even seen him on the stream lately.
It's because he's been prepared for the Overwatch League, getting all forms signed.
Oh my god.
It all adds
He
up
has to
now.
get his visa and everything. I mean, there's all kinds of shit he's got to go through.
He has to quit his job at McDonald's. Hey guys, I'm going to the league.
The funny thing is he probably kept that job. He probably works there once a week just because he loves it.
Just to get the free burgers.
Probably. Oh shoot.
All right, guys. That's gonna do it for today's episode. We're gonna go through BlizzCon's schedule and the World Cup schedule next episode, as well as some of our predictions and our last episode before BlizzCon happens. A little apologies for last week too. I know we missed last week. It's been a very slow month, so there was not a lot to discuss, and we figured we just didn't want to come on the show and just talk about anything without
I I did dare Andreas to do a solo cast.
You don't want. You guys don't want to hear me in a solo cast. You just fall asleep.
Listen
I'll
to the
try one day,
soothing sounds of my voice.
I'll try one day, maybe. This month was not the month. But yeah, stay tuned to for us to walk us through the schedule next week and everything that we're gonna be doing before we go to BlizzCon. And after that, we'll be at BlizzCon. So
Whoop
stay
whoop.
tuned for our episode after that with the conclusion of the Overwatch World Cup.
Oh boy, one more episode until BlizzCon.
And now I'm starting to get the
Ooh,
butterflies
I
too.
know. I
Like
want to go.
the flying butterflies.
Can we just go now? Let's
All
go
right,
No.
guys.
early.
Thank you so much for coming and listening. Have a good night.
Bye.
Someday we'll tell you where you can find us.
Oh yeah, you probably say that. I'll hear it.
You could just throw it in.
Reverse,
Okay.
reverse. Let me just say that real quick before we close out the show.
And
Scene.
Wait, I actually have to start recording in. All right. If you want to find the show, guys, you can find it on Twitter at Owl Recap. You can also find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Owl Recap. You can find us on Discord and join our community there at discord.me/Omnic Lab. You can also email the show for any feedback or business inquiries over at contact@owlrecap.com. And as always, please leave us an iTunes review. It helps us with visibility, and we also love to read them. If you want to personally find us, where can they find you, Bob?
you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. Where can we find you, Mel?
You can find me on Twitter at MelOverwatch.
And
Andres.
you can find me on Twitter at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games. All right, now we can end the show. Thank you so much, guys. We see you next week.
Bye.
Or
Bye.
speak to you next week.
Something with you next week. We'll do something.
Be here.
All right. I'm going to raid somebody here. And
Raid
then
somebody here.
you gotta. Everybody needs a raid. Some holidays. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
You have to click like raid now. It's really weird now. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Gio, for your first time. Oop. All right.